Carl and Damon here from Games, Brains and Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for sure. And it's they made what into a TV series. Halfway point or over the halfway point of Shenmue the animation. We're up to episode number 7, Future. And, well, what I was worried about is starting. This is where things really slow down. Okay, guys, this is where I was like, we're going to start feeling its 13 episode run. This is a criticism I have for the show. I can actually tell you it now because I've done the whole show. It really probably didn't need to be 13 episodes in the end, and for some reason drags out the latter parts of Shenmue 2, unnecessarily so, I found.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Obviously, even during the game, this was the point where there's a lot of going backwards and forwards, a lot of exploring, a lot of talking. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, because we start the episode where we left off last week. Ryo discovered that Teo Lashao was none other than the woman he had spoken to earlier at the temple. Bah, bah, bah. And she lectures Ryo, claiming that, what are you doing? Oh, because basically the whole show thing is Ryo a secret sexist pig? And he's not. He's just young. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, and it's the idea he just can't quite believe that this person is a woman, and that he's automatically presuming that he would, that he would fight her. But he's also doing it other sex because he's like, no, I don't think that. But I just wouldn't fight a woman. And it's like, shut up, Rio, you little prick.
Yeah, I think obviously young, arrogant. We don't know what happened to his mum. Obviously, his father raised him, so obviously his father was obviously a master, and obviously, so
The women in his life, think about the women in his life from the game perspective up to this
yeah.
point, and he's lived in this small little town, in Japan, like he's not used to powerful women.
Mhm.
Uh, Basically, Hanua encourages them to spar with her, and that way Rio will be convinced. And Rio does, but of course, just like every fight that Rio does in this, he gets schooled. He gets schooled. He misses every attack, and basically she points out like if she wanted to, he'd already be dead, which is a little bit unnecessary, but there you go. But she's also very dismissive. Go home, basically. I ain't gonna help you. Cannot help you. Go home. Which leaves Rio. Yeah, yes, exactly that. And that leaves Rio despondent, and he leaves the temple where he encounters a young girl with a broom, kind of cleaning around the temple. And if you know the game, of course, this is Zwan Fang Mei. She kind of teases Rio, claiming, like, you're not up to the challenge, and that even the strongest fighters can't defeat Master Zuyang. Hanaru steps in to kind of tell her to get back to work there, and she departs, kind of doing that whole thing they like to do in these kind of shows, just like, oh, you'll never come back.
Yeah.
That's it. We all know that's not the case, so there you go.
Yeah.
Hanuo then asks how he found sparring with Master Teo Go, and Rio kind of admits there. At least he's always a little bit like, oh, about it. But at least he admits, you're crap here, an open book. And Hanuo points out, well, that's because you judged her by her appearance. You doubted her strength because she's a woman. And I do at least appreciate that Rio doesn't really kind of argue back here. It's like, yeah, you kind of did, basically. But this leaves Rio a bit lost to what to do. How is he going to find out about Azua's Yanda? Hanua suggests that he visits the Guang Martial Arts School, and there you can start learning about the four Wood. The major point of Shenmue 2. Obviously,
Yeah.
Rio learned one of them last week, if you remember. In the previous episode, he learned Gon, and that's kind of what we're going to keep doing now over the rest of this show. As Hanua explains the road to his goal may not be as straightforward as he thinks, we kind of flash back to the previous Zoang's words to Rio from the previous episode. Don't be consumed by... It's that whole lesson. Don't be consumed by your desire for revenge.
Yeah.
As you remember this warning, Hanua assures him the master may yet change her mind, and basically gives Rio a little sliver of hope. Maybe, Rio, you just need to prove yourself. Basically, Rio's like, well, look, man, appreciate that, bruv, but why are you helping me? And the guy's like, hey, I might be helping you. I'm helping you, but not necessarily for your sake. That's
Maybe,
well suspicious.
maybe you've got to prove yourself. Now, go on the back and carry these books for 2 hours.
Fucking, it's hilarious that when you remember the shit you had to do in the game, isn't it?
What a dickhead.
Yeah. Rio finds the martial arts school, and basically the scene plays out like it does in the game. We get the first two assistant instructors trying to block him from entering before the master instructs Rio to be let through, as he appears to just be a guest. The two speak. The master introduces himself as Zuan Zushan, And Ryo introduces himself as well, explains, look, I want to learn the wood. But Zusan says, well, you're not worthy to speak of such a thing due to, he's not worthy to speak of such a thing due to ruining a man's life. So this is an interesting kind of development to suggest that he, yeah, like it's a respect thing. It's something you can learn, but you've got to also treat it with a certain air of, well, the words respect. Forget all that though. Remember Joy? She's in this show. As we cut to Aberdeen, she's speeding by on a motorcycle and she sees Rio speaking to a local person. Joe approaches and kind of says, hey, yeah, your Cantonese seems to be improving as well. Yeah, the show does kind of gloss over the fact that Rio does pick up Cantonese really, really easily,
Yeah.
which is not how you learn languages. Rio asks her if she knows any strong martial artists, claiming that not to. She takes the opportunity to say, look, do you want to hang out? And I'll show you around the city. Which Rio's like, no. I'm like, this is where I'm like, Rio, man, you are a young man. You are a young man. And I know
Yep.
you're like, I know your hard on is all for Land D and killing him, but don't tell me you're not looking at German. Like, you know what? I'm gonna take a day off today. I'm gonna take a
Yep.
day off and go for a drink with this hot piece of ass.
I'm sure even your father would have told you to fucking bloody
Would have
chill.
approved. It
Yeah,
approved. Do you know what I mean? Just give you that nod from afar. You know,
Yep.
you know that kind of thing. Yeah, I know. I'm being a little bit sexist there, but it's Shenmue 2. Why not?
It's the whole point of
Irritated.
the character.
Yeah, well, she was designed. Look at that character. Do not tell me she was not designed to create a character who had sex appeal. There was no one like that in the first game, and Shenmue doesn't need characters with sex appeal. But they did it. Why else is Joe riding around, not only westernized, but in a fucking bikini, basically?
Yep.
She looks like a dead or alive character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Joy remembers that she heard something about a street performer at the Golden Shopping Mall who was basically able to fight off some thugs. In the game, it's Zuzan who tells Rio about this. Because
Yeah.
this is the man whose life he ruined, but in this they changed it up. I guess they give Joy something to do, right?
Mhm.
Rio heads to the mall to investigate, and I was impressed. I was like, "Oh, that really looks like the game."
Yeah. Yeah, so they said, I mean, they've obviously they've done their work, so.
Oh yeah, no question, no question. There's stuff because I'm not as familiar with Shenmue 2 as I am with Shenmue 1, so there's stuff that I probably don't really notice as well. The subtle stuff,
Yeah.
And with there, he spots a homeless man lying on the floor, and when he approaches him, the homeless man asks him if he's one of the yellow heads. Obviously, Rio isn't. He's just a Japanese tourist, and basically the man's like, all right, go get me a beer. I did like that. Rio, who's gone back to being completely stupid, is just like, okay, buddy.
Yeah.
That was really weird, right? It feels like he's gone back to being completely dumb, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, getting his first drink in the morning, the man is super energized, and as he gets up, he proceeds to show the crowd that he's a karate expert, or shout at the crowd that he's a karate expert from Japan, and it'll shatter the rock with his bare hands. Rio, basically, I can understand the confusion here. It's like, oh, all right, okay,
Yep.
this is all weird. But he does do what the man wants to do and impresses the crowd, getting lots of tips. The man introduces himself as Zong Quan and suggests that the two of them continue to work together. Rio's kind of like, nah, I'm basically here to learn about the wood. But this kind of Zong Quan kind of shakes him up a bit. And he says, look, I'm not worthy to talk speaking about this either. Maybe you should try someone else. But Rio points out, well, he's kind of like, oh, that's what the guy at the martial arts school said as well. And that again, Zhu Quan's kind of like, oh, okay. And that he basically wants to leave in a rush. He's out in a bit of a rush, but gives Rio some money, which is nice. But yeah, this is completely different from the game. Completely different. Because Zong Quan basically in the game it's way simpler. He just tells Rio basically everything immediately. Like there's no ifs or buts. Just like Rio might as like I almost it's like the guy's had truth serum and it's truth serum and he's just like I'll tell you everything. My dad, we come back to Joy, still riding for the city, only being interrupted by a knife thrown in the road at her. She swerves and narrowly misses it. She quickly realizes it's none other than Ren Wing, who is properly introduced in this episode following the tease of him last week. Again, this is different from the game, but I didn't mind the way they introduce him here.
Yeah. It makes sense to do it now because obviously he's coming up anyway at some point. So
yeah, he's too important to not, and it kind of ties him into a little bit of Joy stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Ren tells Joy that he heard from Wong that she's been helping some badass Japanese dude. and wants to know more about him. I was like, no one's calling Rio badass Japanese dude.
No,
They
no.
just, Joy recalls Rio's word of determination to achieve his goal no matter what, and simply tells Ren that he should go and meet him for himself, pointing out that he went to the Golden Shopping Mall. Rio is now seen back at the martial arts school, telling Master Zuzan of his encounter with Zong Quan, and basically finally puts two and two together. So basically, what we got here was a long-winded way just to get back to what we were doing in the game, and obviously
Yeah,
this is where they're fleshing out the story of the show, and it's fine, but it's also where you kind of feel it starts to feel dragged out.
yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it was always hard to try and portray every little detail from the game because it's a lot of walking and talking. Yeah,
Back and
backs and
forth,
forwards.
yeah. Back
Yeah,
and
yeah,
forth, yeah. How do you do that in a show? We know this. It would have been bad, really. It would have been even worse. Zuzan explains he was a former disciple who he banished because he basically was a good martial artist, lots of promise when he was younger, but he kind of used that to make a spectacle of himself, which obviously transitioned into being a straight performer. Obviously, like all Shenmue games, they're obsessed with like you must be respectful of the martial arts and nonsense like that. But
yeah,
Zuzan blames himself basically. I didn't guide him properly, and that's made me unworthy to speak of the wound. Rio then tries to find Zuquan again at the shopping mall, but he's nowhere to be seen. Now he's approached by a group of thugs who also want to know where Zongquan has gone and quickly become aggressive to Rio. These are the Yellowheads, a gang. The show and the game's replacement for the Mad Angels, basically.
yeah,
There is similar faces here from the game. That I actually had to Google to check their names, but I thought it was just interesting they existed here. Diane and Chun are two particular members of the gang that appeared in the game. And they demand that Rio should pay Zongquan's protection fee in his absence. And obviously, we all know how this goes down. Rio's like, bitch, please. I will never not be entertained by his just like, no.
yeah.
And they're always just like, what? Because they're initially they're not used to this, I guess, being told no, or basically he shows no fear.
Yeah, if you think about it, in the days of the triad, people just pay like protection money for business. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. A fight breaks out, but we actually see Zong Quan coming from the toilets, and he sees the commotion heading over there to see Rio fighting the Yellowheads. Getting involved, he's basically like, come on, Rio, let's run. And the two run away into the streets, passing Ren along the way. Uh, Forget all of that, though. That was a nice little fun action scene. We cut to the Manmo Temple as Young sits and reads in the temple guarding. But she's having one of those childhood memory stuff. Fang Mei interrupts and informs her that Zhou Young basically, I've finished cleaning the worship hall. Her master suggests she cleans the room next, and Fang Mei informs her, look, I've already done that as well, as she had a feeling it would need to be cleaned. She's basically being a bit cheeky here as well. And it's basically to sort of show Fang Mei's character off a little bit more here, and how she can kind of predict and kind of knows the direction that Zuyong is going to go in. It's an alright scene. It's fine.
yeah. I mean, you don't really dive too deep into her character in the game, so
Yeah, it's just that we don't, do we? So it's just a little bit more. Back at the shop mall, we see the police arrive and they're talking, questioning people. And we hear one onlooker talk about Rio fighting the Yellowheads. This is something Ren overhears, and basically he's a little bit annoyed that I missed my opportunity and stuff like that. He, meanwhile, Rio is sitting with Zong Quan in Pigeon Park, having eluded the Yellowheads. Zong Quan explains that the Yellowheads are a gang that controls the underworld of Hong Kong, and they continually harass him due to his refusal to pay their protection money. When Rio points out they didn't seem very tough, Zong Quan simply says, look, I don't want to be hassled. I just want to be kind of left alone. That's my thing. And I can't he's basically saying I can't be fighting everyone over these things. And I get that.
yeah. I mean, because you make yourself a target. If he attacks the Yellowheads, then they're going to be after him.
Yeah.
So,
Rio tells him kind of why he's there. What's it call it? Yeah, no, tells him like who he is and why he's there and stuff like that. It doesn't really go anywhere either, but Rio ends up going back to the guest house where the owner basically demands that you're gonna have to stop paying. You're gonna have to stop paying tomorrow, regardless of being a friend of Joy or not. You're laughing there. What was funny?
yeah, because the amount of times that owner asked for goddamn money, I still don't think to this day that I ever fucking paid the bastard.
We actually see Rio in his room looking at his wallet, suggesting that he might be running out of money now. Of course, that was different from the game because he actually loses some money at the start. At
Yeah,
any rate, though, here's Joy. who wants to basically go get something to eat. And this time Rio finally goes along with her. And they talk about what he's basically been up to, meeting the street performer and stuff like that. Rio also talks about running into the Yellowhead, a name that Joy is not happy to hear about. But basically, she kind of makes the point of saying, like, it's cool that you're tough, but maybe stop basically making a scene, showing everybody who and what you are already.
Yeah, you know, see, I like this bit, okay, because in the game we don't really get this because obviously this is how we're starting to learn how Rio is starting to show his revenge aspect. Where obviously in the game we never really got this. We obviously as he went into the meeting Shenmue, obviously we see him edging out a bit, but now he's being told, look, you need to calm down a bit because you're going to get yourself killed.
It's good advice, and it comes from a character that really doesn't get enough in the game. So this is a good way to do it. I like this scene as well because I think it's actually how you can fully explain and express how Rio's eventual transformation kind of goes along. Plus, it's common sense, right? Like, to a degree. Like, you in Hong Kong, man, you go around trying to fight everybody, you are going to die. Like, you
Making
are.
enemies everywhere. So
But this makes Rio think about Zuzan's words about just being a spectacle. And basically, he kind of understands, I think, finally what the other two, Zongquan and Zuzan, are on about. So he kind of rushes off to the mall. But unfortunately, he gets there where the Yellowheads are all around Zongquan and basically hassling him. Zongquan is refusing to spend any money, which results in him getting attacked, and it turns into a fight. But we actually see what the street performers' actual martial skills are like. Rio arrives, basically tells Quan not to attack them. Now he finally understands the true strength that character has, seemingly. Staying true to the virtues it's not always about fighting. This is what Rio's learning. It's not always about fighting. Sometimes it's simply about defense. You can avoid a fight in many different ways, and that skill as well. It is. Even now, it's a skill to stay calm in scenarios where someone is goading you into a fight.
yeah.
Basically, there's some back and forth between the ringleaders of the Yellowhead ringleader and their characters as well, but they eventually agree to sort of retreat. But taunt Rio that, like, Rio's got their attention now. That's the thing that's actually happened. Rio reveals his own quantity, figured out he was holding back. And the street performer gives him a letter that, look, pass this on to Master Zuzon. That's where Rio goes the next day. And upon reading the letter, Zuzon explains that Zongquan's words still follow the lesson to keep your heart free of conceit, to never use force blindly or flaunt your technique, which is one of the wooed Jie. And Zuzon is contented knowing that Zongquan still follows the path of the martial arts, albeit in a different way. So that's how we get to wooed number 2. In the end, I was like, all right, that wasn't the worst way to do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, as we said before, it's impossible to do a how the game does it because you'll be going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. So I liked it added. I liked it added a bit of joy because, as you said, she doesn't get enough credit from the game and obviously they're giving her what she deserves. So
yeah, I agree. Rio then returns to Manmo Temple, reciting the lesson of Ji to Ziyong. She basically is like, and whatever, bruv. But at least this time Rio's kind of like, you know what? No worries. It's all good, bro. I'm going to keep coming back and I'm going to bother you. But this causes her a flashback to something someone said to her as a child. This show loves that, where someone's like, oh, I remember something from a different time and it's important to now. But this does appear to stir something in her. She asks Rio to follow her to her room. And I was like, oh, yeah, go on, Rio. No, I'm being childish. Basically, she's going to allow him to stay within the temple. But she says she will not help him with anything else. But she basically feels kind of like, Master Chen sent you. I guess I must do something for you. Well, why is that before you didn't care about Master Chen? Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't like that. It's like, now you're like, oh, well, Master Chen asked me to help. Well, he told you that the first time he was there.
Yeah, I think they explored that a bit better again because obviously Rio has a picture of her father, and obviously Master Chen sent her a letter beforehand in the game that explores it a bit better. Where in the show they don't really explain that.
No, they don't. But we do get to the end here as she allows Rio to call her by her actual name, which of course is so young. And we see Hanhu and Fang Mei are kind of eavesdropping. The former is the latter, should I say, is quite excited, whereas the former is kind of like, look, it doesn't mean anything at all. And just in case you forget, the end of the episode, we see Shenhua standing on Baloo Village, looking up at the night sky with intense gaze, because that's the only thing she does in the show, which is either recite the prophecy or stare at the sky. She's not a very good character at this point.
Yeah.
This is a mixed episode for me. I was starting to feel the show's length, and I find note writing for the show one of the hardest to do. It is so all over the place, so many different characters, so many moving parts that my notes are actually too long, I think, at times, and I'm trying to find a way to gloss over it a bit better, but I can't because there's so much going on. It's like I have to freaking constantly say it. So I'm really looking forward to actually getting through this show just because it's taking a lot of energy for me to complete it. And it's episodes like this where I can't just gloss over these significant points because a lot of them are important. And if I do just do it as like, well, let's focus on the big parts of the story, there aren't really any big parts. What's the big part of this episode, really? The fight with the Yellowheads? The conversation? It's all conversations.
If you do that, there's like 6 or 7 major parts in this episode which has to be talked about.
Yeah, it does. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed. Go on.
No, I was going to say, like, obviously, the next couple of episodes I expect are going to be like that with the writing too, because obviously, again, there's still 2 more wounds to find.
Well, thankfully, not the next episode, but because I did those notes separately. But the notes from episode 9 onwards, 9 onwards, I found a way. I found a way to make it a little bit tighter. I think episode 8 might still be a bit lengthy, but we'll cover that in the next video. Sorry about that, folks. Not the best written notes for me this time. I'm normally doing a little better, but I blame the show. It's too freaking much going on. Too much going on. But yeah, overall, again, this is fine. This is Shenmue. I'll be honest, Damon. I'm not as compelled by this show as I thought I would be. And I think part of the problem is that I know it kind of goes nowhere. And I think that's a problem. Think about a film that you've watched. One of the things that I hate in any film or TV show that begins showing you the ending. You know when they like show you someone dead or dying or hurt or injured or whatever, and then it's like 2 weeks earlier. And I'm like, why do I care? Like, I hate that. The problem is that I know this does not continue. This show not only has been cancelled, there won't be a second season, but also this doesn't have any Shenmue 3 related stuff. So like it's not that easy to get invested. So what I'm doing, I'm watching it purely to see how they adapt the video game side of things.
Yeah.
And that's not always the most compelling.
Did you ever I presumed you completed 1 and 2 with the achievements, yeah?
Oh no, I haven't done 2 on the Xbox 360 with the achievements. I haven't done that one, but I've completed it in the past on the Dreamcast back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've completed on the Dreamcast many times, 1 and 2, and obviously I've completed obviously 1 and 2 with the achievements, and I've completed. I went and bought a fucking PS4 to play Shenmue 3.
Yeah, because you're mental.
Oh yeah, I had to play because obviously because the amount of years I went on a year about it's coming.
There's going to be a Shenmue 4. You'll be fucking dead before there's a Shenmue 4. Anyway, yes. You were saying this. So yeah, you completed a lot of them all of the achievements.
Yeah. So obviously, my nostalgia and memory of obviously, I mean, even now, so your memory is still there. The fact you haven't played it for such a long time too.
Oh yeah.
So it's still in your head.
It is. I will always love Shenmue. I'm beginning to realize, maybe, and this is going to sound controversial, I'm beginning to realize that I didn't need this show. And it's fine to have it, but I don't like to sit there and basically, I don't like this when we do any. Our favorite shows are the ones that aren't doing video game stuff. Our Castlevania. It's based in that world and it's using elements from it, but we're not sitting there. Tell me, at any point are you sitting there when you watch Castlevania going, remember that from the game? Or that's cool, that was from... None of that. None of that exists. We do, when we watch our movies, we don't really do that anymore. We kind of just watch it and be entertained. The problem is I'm watching Shenmue, and the only reason I'm watching it is because I'm like, that's from the game. That's what they're doing differently.
Yeah.
And like that's not that compelling of a show to, do you know what I mean? Like it's not that interesting to watch it. It's fine in a way, but also it's like it's different. And I'm struggling with it at this point. And I'm kind of like, I wish it wasn't 13 episodes. I wish it was like 10. I don't know.
It's a good shout because every episode I sit down and watch and I think, oh yeah, that's from the game. I remember that from the game. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. Yeah.
So it's less about like references or nods and more just like we're having to sit there and compare them. And I don't know, it's not. And when I've read other people's views online, it often comes back to that. People often just talk more about how accurate it is to the game or the things they changed. And I'm like, but what
Yeah.
about the show? If you didn't know the game, could you have enjoyed this show? And I'm beginning to wonder, maybe that's the problem. Maybe people wouldn't.
Yeah.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I thought it's making me think about it a lot, you know?
I think that's why maybe it was cancelled because obviously
Well,
I know the game.
I think it's for the game people only. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that, yeah. I think it's for the game people only. I think that's why we never got a season 2 or an adaptation of what the events of Shenmue 3. I think because like that your audience was already limited for Shenmue 1 and 2, but that audience is even smaller for Shenmue freaking 3 to be done. And they were
Yeah.
never going to go off and do their own thing. So, like, it kind of makes sense, really. I think this is just always going to be a nice to have, but was never needed and may not long term. When I get nostalgic about Shenmue, I will still probably go to the games over the show.
Oh yeah. Me too, of course. I'm still waiting for Sony to stop being pricks and release it on give it to Xbox for cheap and stop being dicks. Come on, guys.
Well, you know what happens? Microsoft is the cuck giving Sony all its games, while Sony goes, "Well, mate, we're not giving you anything in return." You know what I
Yep.
mean? Oh, those Final Fantasy remakes and all of that. No, or Spider-Man's. No, we can't have that. But here's Microsoft going, please, Sony, take our games. It's
Yep.
pathetic. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get off topic. That is episode 7, Future. Show me the animation. You got any thoughts on this one you want to share? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.